Hey everyone, this is Faye. Recently, Harbinger of the Harvest made a video that I would like to rip apart piece by piece to show why it is flawed on his channel for exposing Wayward Son and Mandela Australia. First off, he says that Chanel is unhappy with him for bringing attention to the fact that she is supposedly hearing from a deceiving spirit. I'll play the clip for you now.
If you are a person who follows Chanel, then I'm sure you have heard her recent videos directed at me. She is clearly not happy that I'm trying to show you the truth that she is hearing from a deceiving spirit.
The number one problem with the statement that Chanel is actively listening to a deceiving spirit comes from 1 John 4:1-3. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have come out into the world. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have heard was coming, and is now already in the world. Since she has stated numerous times she has done this, this is a problem with that exact statement that Harbinger made. Either the unchanged verses in the Bible are still correct, or they are not. You cannot have it both ways, despite the fact that believers keep trying to have it both ways. It is largely understood that the Bible is fallible within the Christian Mandela Effect community, since it has been changed. But it is also widely accepted that unchanged verses are still trustworthy. And since no one has reported these verses as being a change to Scripture, we have to recognize they mean what they state they do in that regard. If something changes and someone recalls the Bible saying something else here, I will gladly retract this statement, as it will have been a Mandela effect at that point. But in this instance, it does not look to be one, so we will go with the written text as it is now until such alternate memories surface, since the text states that testing the spirits means asking them if they believe Jesus Christ came in the flesh or not. We have to go with that. We're not going to go with some other explanation for these verses. Now, with that out of the way, it's time to go to the next statement that Harbinger of the Harvest chose to make here. I will play that clip for you now.
I find it interesting that she wants to bring up a recent media circus of a trial as something to compare our situation to. That trial was nothing more than a distraction for the public to keep them from noticing much more serious things that are going on in our world. In much the same way, her attack videos directed at me are meant to move your focus away from what I've shown you and convince you that I'm a person you shouldn't be listening to.
It's pretty clear here what he is implying. He states that her attack videos directed at him are meant to move everyone's focus away from what he has shown us, and that we should not be listening to him. Here's reality. What he has shown us was letters that we should not have seen in the first place, as those were private. In regards to this statement, I strongly encourage you to pray on the letters he chose to leak, instead of taking him at his word here. Do not take me at my word on the letters either. I cannot stress this enough. Pray on it. I will also point out that Harbinger and the others are desperately trying to distract everyone from correcting lies in a truth community, with all that they have been doing as well. Several times, I would point out Jane lied about Chanel and Brandt, only to be met with a weak rebuttal of, Chanel and Brandt think they're the two witnesses, and then they do nothing about this in a truth community. They have successfully gotten everyone so completely and utterly focused on the two witnesses thing. Something that Chanel and Brandt have stated numerous times that they do not ask to be believed about, and instead ask everyone to pray on this matter, that the important matter of Jane lying in a truth community goes undealt with. Though the one who is truly trying to distract everyone is Harbinger himself, as well as some of the other leaders, not Chanel
So, in other words, that is an actual outright deflection of what is going on here. At least that's the way I see it. If you want to see trying to distract everyone and derail them from what Jane did, and then claiming that Chanel is the one who is trying to distract everyone, when in reality she is trying to bring things to attention, you are allowed to believe that, but you'll be wrong. It is also a problem that Harbinger claims Chanel said no one should ever listen to him at all, when I have never once seen her go there at all at any point. The one who tends to go there is me, not Chanel, so please leave Chanel completely out of that statement. Please get your facts straight, instead of continuing on with this foolishness. I'm usually the one who thinks Harbingers of the Harvest should never be listened to again. Chanel does not think this at all, and should not be falsely accused of such.
Chanel really should have been a lawyer because she is a master of taking half-truths, inaccurate statements, and things completely out of context and twisting it all to her advantage.
Well, this is quite the accusation. Given the amount of times I have seen the leaders in this community do exactly that, and Chanel has to come forward with evidence they are the ones doing this multiple times. Deflecting your own actions onto Chanel to make her look bad is unbecoming, Harbinger, and I hope everybody else can see that as well.
She has chosen the kind of vicious and vile attack a defense attorney would use to lead suspicion away from her guilty client.
Oh, really, Harbinger? You say that she has chosen the vicious, vile attack a defense attorney would use to lead suspicion away from her guilty client. But I've seen you all do the same to lead suspicion away from Jane, who is guilty of lying to everyone here. I still have the evidence up on my own channel that proves she has lied. Instead of acknowledging she did anything wrong, you use things that were meant to be private in order to attack Chanel and lead suspicion away from Jane, who clearly lied in this community on EYA's platform, which was the largest platform in the community at the time she committed this sin, not once, but multiple times during that livestream at the time. Your next statement intrigues me even more, since you state now that you are not going to respond to her arguments in order to validate them.
I have no intentions of validating her straw man arguments by responding to them.
Harbinger, you just admitted her arguments are indeed valid with this entire statement. You did this in front of the entire community. You slipped up here in the wording, revealing that her arguments are indeed valid. And now that you have done this, I will strongly encourage everyone in the community to go and watch Chanel's videos in order to see what she has to say in response to the Mean People video. You can find links to her videos in the description below, since he has admitted her arguments are valid, despite what he was trying to do here. As a bonus, I'll leave a link to his video in the description as well, so you can see him make a fool of himself for yourselves. His next statement is even more interesting, that as he retracts from the previous statement by stating that he will, in fact, respond to one of her arguments. Interesting. He claims that what he is responding to is a perfect example of how she only tells part of the truth in order to twist things and completely remove the context, something he is ironically doing throughout this entire video. He says not to hold him to exact wording, because he is only working from memory. Alright, given how long Chanel's videos are, that is fair. Let's see the statement.
You know what? I am going to respond to just one thing that Chanel talked about in her attack videos, because it is a perfect example of how she only tells part of the truth, completely removing the context of the situation, and then twists things in an attempt to gain sympathy from her audience. Now, don't hold me to exact wording here, because I'm working from memory, and she did, after all, ramble on for almost 2 hours. So she makes the claim that Jane and I are responsible for the destruction of her relationship with Nina. That is a patently false statement. It was just a matter of Nina seeing the blasphemous statements made in the letters that we saw, and that you can see as well in the video titled Letter of Blasphemy. I mean, that is why Nina told us about the letters in the first place. The destruction of her relationship with Nina was her own doing. Nina realized all on her own what Chanel was trying to drag her into, and she wanted no part of it. Also, she makes the point of the timing of all this was when she was recovering from cancer surgery. The truth of the matter is, this was all her own doing. She chose to present these letters to Nina when my granddaughter was in the hospital recovering from a serious car accident where she was in a coma for 4 days. Excuse me. She knew Nina would not want to bother me considering my family situation. So by excluding these facts, she presents you with a completely different perception of how things went down.
I asked Harbinger for evidence of the things that he is saying here. Instead of giving me any evidence, he gave me none. Instead, he said to listen to the video again, that he never used the word immediately, that Nina didn't immediately realize it, but when she did, she has to make the decision of what to do about it. This directly contradicts what he stated in the video itself. I'll play that clip for you again.
And she did, after all, ramble on for almost 2 hours. So she makes the claim that Jane and I are responsible for the destruction of her relationship with Nina. That is a patently false statement. It was just a matter of Nina seeing the blasphemous statements made in the letters that we saw, and that you can see as well in the video titled Letter of Blasphemy. I mean, that is why Nina told us about the letters in the first place. The destruction of her relationship with Nina was her own doing. Nina realized all on her own what Chanel was trying to drag her into, and she wanted no part of it. Also, she makes the point of the timing of all this was when she was recovering from cancer surgery. The truth of the matter is, this was all her own doing. She chose to present these letters to Nina when my granddaughter was in the hospital recovering from a serious car accident where she was in a coma for 4 days. Excuse me. She knew Nina would not want to bother me considering my family situation. So by excluding these facts, she presents you with a completely different perception of how things went down.
There are so many problems with the statement. How should I even begin? According to him, he did not use the word immediately in this video, so at some point later on, she realized it and then told them about it because she was concerned. But here he is actively saying, he is actually just telling a different story in his own video, claiming it was all done at a time that Nina would not have wanted to bother him. Which one is it, Harbinger? Which one is it? Because this is a very clear contradiction in your testimony. And now everybody in the community can see it. And while you were at refusing to give me evidence, you decided to, again, you've said that if I plan to attack Nina, the chances are I'm not going to like how that will turn out. Because you guys have emails too. And then you went on to, once again, deflect to the two witnesses topic. The two witnesses topic is not at all something that I am very concerned with at the moment. I am more concerned about the fact that Jane lied in a truth community, and you guys continue to try to derail it.
What really gets me, though, is you are actively trying to derail stuff away from Nina with this very line of reasoning, though. I am not interested in going after Nina. I am only interested in going after you, Harbinger. In order to do that, I need evidence. Evidence of what you say and evidence of what Chanel says. It would be legitimately stupid to go after what you've stated in this video here if I don't have evidence one way or the other. Again, what I have to say on that is I have currently bore witness to multiple emails where Nina was actively supporting Chanel and being supportive of the letters, like she claims. And in these particular emails, I could clearly see that Nina actually genuinely did go to God in prayer, and she did receive confirmations, just like Chanel says she did. That is what I've been reading and what I was sent so far from Chanel. For right now, I'm just gonna state that yes, Chanel is telling the truth, that Nina was supportive, and she went to Jesus and received confirmations from Jesus on the letters. Because maybe we've been dwelling on Nina just a tad too long.
She paints the picture she wants you to see. Now, whether you believe what Chanel says about me or not is irrelevant. The issue she refuses to address, and won't address, is the fact that the entity she hears from has told her things that contradict Scripture and in some instances are blasphemous, both of which are things Jesus wouldn't do. This entity has also given her prophecy that has failed to come true. Jesus is no false prophet.
I will agree that Jesus is no false prophet, but you are only going off of a simplistic surface level interpretation of what was given to Chanel. You're not looking at it any more deeply. You're not on your knees in prayer asking Jesus about what it says. You're not even trying to find the truth of what the letter actually means. Chanel has told you multiple times how she interprets that letter, and she gets blown off every single time. It's at this point I would call it a waste of time to try to explain that particular letter to you, since on every single occasion she has come forward to try to explain that letter to you, you would blow her off. Same with Making Space. Making Space also blew her off. Actually, much of the community blows her off in her own interpretation. They're so busy convinced that only their interpretation can be the right one that they ignore the interpretation that Chanel has, the interpretation that Jesus gave to Chanel. Again, trying to explain this letter and what it actually means to you is a waste of time for all parties involved. So let's not dwell on it for all that long. Let's head to the next statement.
So the only conclusion that can be reached is that the messages she has been given are not from whom she believes them to be. She talks about presenting evidence. I have presented the only evidence anyone needs to see to know that she has been deceived. That is one of her own letters that she claims Jesus gave her, the letter that was presented in the video, Letter of Blasphemy. That one letter alone should be all anyone who believes that the Bible is inspired Scripture needs to see to know that she has been deceived.
We addressed this earlier in 1 John chapter 4, 1 through 3. She has been testing the spirits, so I see this as a non-issue. I don't see it as necessarily that Chanel is deceived at all. I see it as you are sorely misinterpreting the letter that Chanel was given. You aren't trying to look at it with a deeper understanding. You're just using a simple surface level glance and hoping for the best. And hoping that that interpretation is correct, even if it turns out to be wrong. On to the next statement.
Even so, I will release another video shortly after this one. That video will show another of her letters that she claims was given to her by Jesus. In that letter, you will see another very specific prophecy that has been proven to be untrue. Even Chanel's own words, where she talks about her relationship with Nina being destroyed, confirms that this prophecy has completely failed.
By now I actually have watched that particular video. But you are missing something completely in your interpretation, Harbinger of the Harvest. There is, yes, it is true physically, that Nina's bond with Chanel got broken. But is that true on a spiritual level? On a spiritual level, a lot more interesting things can and do happen sometimes. So I would say that on a spiritual level, perhaps this is not necessarily the case. I will not state whether I am truly right on this hunch or wrong, but I will ask everybody to pray and ask Jesus whether or not this bond is as broken as it appears to be. Because my hunch is right. From a spiritual perspective, Nina's and Chanel's bond are still unbreakable. They have not been broken. On a physical level, it looks that way. But just because something looks that way on the physical level does not mean it is that way in the spiritual. So I will ask it. So just pray on it. Don't take my word for it. Ask Jesus about it. Let's move on.
So she spends 2 hours spewing vitriol and accusations with clear contempt for me, and even says she would never trust me again.
If I were in her position, I wouldn't trust you again, Harbinger. You kinda deserve that. Let's move on now.
Yet, at the very end of her last video, she claims that she still loves me and forgives me.
Well, she does still love you and forgive you. That does not mean that there are suddenly no consequences to your own actions, Harbinger. I thought that a mature Christian like yourself would understand the concept, but apparently you don't seem to.
Now, she made 3 videos, and after she finished the last one, she decided to publish them. If she truly loved me and forgave me as she claims, there is no way she would be able to publish the character assassination attempt that she did.
Harbinger of the Harvest, what you are making out simply is not so. There are still consequences for your actions. Just because she loves and forgives you does not mean you are necessarily off of the hook.
Let's be honest here. Those videos were all about trying to make me out to be a vile and evil person, so no one would care to hear what I have to say. Anyone who listens to those videos and hears her claim to love me and forgive me can clearly see how disingenuous those statements are.
Uh, no. It was not about trying to make you out to be a horrible person at all, Harbinger. No. That was not it at all. The fact of the matter is, you refuse to deal with any of this in private. Chanel has been trying to get you to deal with it in private for quite some time now. And instead, you have chosen to do stuff publicly, refusing to do anything privately, and now you're just dealing with the consequences of your actions here. That's exactly what I'm seeing. I'm not sure how you're missing that, but that is what I got out of those videos.
Is this really the kind of person you think one of the 2 witnesses will be? Someone who rips you apart for 2 hours and then lies and says that they forgive you and they still love you?
Chanel does still love and care about you, Harbinger. She does. Going into denial about that simply because you're upset with her won't change her actual genuine feelings on this matter. Chanel still loves and cares for you, Harbinger. She tried in every which way possible to get this dealt with privately before she finally said something after a few years. I get that you're upset with her, but that's no reason to say that she is lying about loving and caring for you. Clearly, she still cares. This never would have had to go public in the first place if it had best been dealt with privately, and everybody refused to do that.
One should wonder just how much truth is in the rest of what she has to say. So, if you're a person who follows Chanel, please listen to the next video titled A Broken, Unbreakable Bond.
I did watch it, and Harbinger, you look with your physical eyes way too much, and you don't use your spiritual eyes nearly enough. If you looked at Chanel's bond with Nina in spirit, you would see that they are still indeed friends. However, because you keep looking at the flesh, and insisting upon the flesh, that is not what you're gonna see. You are currently blind to the fact that Nina and Chanel in spirit are still wonderful friends. Just stop looking at the flesh's bad behavior and look more spiritually at what you're looking at, what you're seeing. Then maybe you will see that Chanel is not wrong.
If after seeing what was prophesied in that letter that has so very clearly proven to be a false prophecy, you still believe that she is not deceived by a familiar spirit, then I don't know what else I can possibly do to open your eyes to the truth.
I am fairly certain that my eyes are open to the truth. Harbinger. In spirit, Chanel and Nina are still friends. Look at it through spiritual eyes, not just fleshly eyes, and insisting that the flesh you are looking at is all that there is to it, when it's not. You're looking at things from a far too simplistic perspective for my tastes, Harbinger. Well, that is all for now. I will see everybody in the next video. Thank you for watching.